rise in attempted abduction in Swindon has raised concerns over the safety of women and children. The case has quickly become a focal point in wider debates about security and public trust.
9 p.m, Swindon, Wiltshire. A 17-year-old girl was dragged across a busy street. The suspect, Abdul Mol Ibrahim Adam, an asylum seeker from Sudan, had previously been convicted of entering Britain illegally, released. Still in the country, still free to walk the streets. CCTV captured the moment she was grabbed. Members of the public ran in to stop it. If they were seconds later, no one can say how this would have ended. In the days that followed, fear did not fade, it built. 4:30 p.m, people began gathering. Shields, batons, arrests. Police pushed crowds back, night fell, fireworks flew between protesters and police. And then a police station was set on fire. These were not separate events. They were one chain of consequences. A teenage girl was grabbed on her way home. People had to step in to stop it. But stories like this did not begin that night. In the weeks leading up to it, there were other reports. Girls followed, women confronted, members of the public forced to intervene. Different places, same fear. When something like this happens in Swindon, people do not see it as random. They see it as a warning. That fear did not fade, it stayed. This man was not hidden. He was already inside the system. Living in asylum accommodation, moving freely through town centres, no constant supervision, no clear line of control. Hotels meant for temporary housing became places with little oversight. People were told everything was being managed, but on the streets it did not feel that way. When someone already processed by the system can still walk freely and something like this happens, that is where trust broke. No one organised this. There was no announcement, no official call, no single group in charge. People simply turned up. Local residents, parents, ordinary people, not to riot, not to burn anything, but because staying at home no longer felt right. When fear has nowhere to go, it doesn't disappear. It moves outside. By late afternoon, small groups began to gather. No slogans at first, just conversations, just frustration shared out loud. This was not chaos, this was pressure releasing. Once people are on the streets, events stop moving slowly. By 4:30 p.m, the street changed shape. Police vans rolled in, lines formed, shields locked together, batons were no longer hanging at the side, they were in hand. The first push came suddenly, crowds staggered back, then steadied, then pressed forward again. People were grabbed from the front, arms twisted, bodies pulled through the line. One arrest triggered another. Each arrest drew shouts. Each shout pulled more people closer. Commands cut through the noise, short, loud, repeated. Move back, clear the area. This was no longer about being heard, it was about control. The street narrowed, tension thickened. Some stepped away, others stepped in. By then, no one was pretending this would end quietly. The afternoon had crossed a line. As daylight faded, the balance shifted. The crowd did not thin, it hardened. Helmets went on, lights came up, sirens cut through the street. Then the fireworks appeared. Not celebration, not noise for show. Projectiles arcing overhead, police lines braced, shields raised higher. Dogs brought forward, each burst in the sky drew a surge from the crowd. Each surge tightened the line. This was no longer about space, it was about dominance. The rhythm changed. Faster, harsher. What had been containment by day became confrontation by night. Once darkness takes over, control stops being predictable. The city crossed into a different phase. Then it happened. A police station was targeted, not a shop, not a random building. The place meant to represent order. Windows smashed, fire set. Nearby, police vehicles were abandoned, then attacked, set alight where they stood. Flames reflected off riot shields. Smoke rolled across the street. For a moment, everything else stopped mattering. What people saw was unmistakable. A police station burning, police vehicles burning beside it. This was no longer protest, no longer crowd control, no longer disorder at the edges. When police property is set on fire, a line has been crossed. Whatever authority existed before that moment was gone. The collapse was no longer symbolic, it was visible. After the fires, the night did not end. It revealed something clearly. The system had already been under strain. Nothing exploded out of nowhere. Pressure had been building for some time. In small signs, people notice before officials do. When police are forced to chase events, they are no longer ahead of them. Officers were injured not because they failed, but because too much was being carried by too few. Sirens rang again and again through the same streets, the same junctions, at the same blocks. They did not bring reassurance. They showed a system being stretched. People watching from home understood this without needing a report. Something felt different. Control felt thinner. Familiar streets no longer felt routine. Movement slowed. Caution replaced confidence. The real damage was not only the fire or the smoke, it was what settled afterward. Doubt. Quiet doubt changes behaviour. People leave earlier, they avoid certain routes. They keep the phone closer, they look over the shoulder. They do not call it policy, they call it common sense. After that, attention turned to the disorder itself. Who shouted, who pushed, who crossed the line. But disorder is rarely the beginning, it is the result. Crowds form when pressure is no longer contained, when no one appears to be holding it anymore. Public safety is not built in a single night. It depends on steady oversight, clear responsibility, and action taken early. It depends on someone looking at risk and saying, not tomorrow, today. When accommodation is loosely supervised, when movement is not clearly tracked, when warnings exist but go unanswered, systems do not collapse suddenly. They wear down quietly. People sense this long before any report is released. Reassurance starts to sound rehearsed. Responsibility feels blurred. No one appears fully in charge. When nobody looks fully in charge, the public starts to feel they are on their own. This is not about one mistake. It is about delay repeated again and again. A system that reacts only after disorder appears will always be behind events. That gap did not start this night. This night exposed it. Every society has limits, points where patience runs out. When people believe safety is being managed, they wait. When they see drift, they worry. When they feel ignored, they stop waiting. Trust does not disappear in one moment. It thins over time. Each late response weakens it further. Each unanswered concern reduces it again. Each "we are looking into it" delivered after damage has already happened makes the next promise sound lighter. Order relies on trust as much as enforcement. When trust fades, as authority becomes harder to hold, even when actions are justified. That is why words alone are not enough. What matters is visible correction. People need to see that rules have weight, that boundaries hold, that responsibility is clear. Not theatre, not slogans, not speeches after midnight. Real correction, early enough to prevent the next scene from forming. Without that, the next moment comes sooner. Each time it comes sooner, the threshold becomes lower. The question now is not what happened, it is what happens next. Because when a night like this passes without real change, it does not close the chapter. It sets a pattern. The sequence is familiar. A serious incident, public fear, slow adjustment, street pressure, escalation. The details can change. The order does not. When that sequence is not broken early, the outcome stops being surprising. It becomes repeatable. The next time will not need more anger. It will need less patience, less trust, less warning. That is how instability becomes normal. Not in one collapse, but through repetition. Strong systems absorb pressure early, they adjust before the street has to. Weak systems deal with the aftermath, they explain after the damage. Accountability matters not to assign blame, but to stop the pattern hardening. Because once a pattern hardens, it becomes the expected route. Societies do not unravel in one dramatic night. They unravel when disruption starts to feel familiar, when people stop being shocked and start being resigned. That is the warning this sequence leaves behind. If you value calm, careful analysis over headlines, subscribe and stay with us.